Hi, Max. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself first?
My name is Max Schweder. I'm from Germany, from Cologne. I'm a musician originally, and I studied saxophone and music production.
And now you're doing a research project here at the Conservatory in Antwerp. Can you just give a short resume about that project?
Yes, I'm focusing on the direct visualization of sounds. I take different approaches of how I work on that. One approach is to put sound into context with visuals. Another way is to technically link visuals with sound, so using sound analysis like frequency analysis, pitch analysis, loudness analysis, stuff like that. I use a lot of computer visualization.
How did you actually get into all this stuff? Why are you doing this coming from your background as an acoustic musician?
I think it's like 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I had a band when I was first studying music, first studying jazz saxophone in the Netherlands. I had this feeling that I wanted to be on stage with the band, but I wanted something, I needed a barrier between the audience and me. And that was when I found out about people that were called VJs, so visual DJs. First guy I asked was the best guy I ever worked with, Andreas Cialoca. And he was a VJ, and he came to a concert and he just put on, I sent him the music in advance and he put on some visuals, and it immediately changed the whole atmosphere. And the whole concert became so much bigger because of that. The band could focus on the music and the visual guy would put up the show, so we wouldn't have to be dancing around. And this is where I came into contact with this whole idea of music visualization. Ever since that concert, I always try to have VJs accompanying my music. I quickly got into this frustration that I always want to have influence on that more and more. And in the beginning, I didn't have so much time to work on it myself. In the beginning, I really wanted to offload this work, but I noticed that I really wanted to do this myself. I had particular connections in my mind that I wanted to set up, but I never found the time or the energy to really do it myself. The first project that we did ourselves with music visualization was with Sylvester, with my electronic duo. We had the opportunity to get a funding from the city of Cologne to work on a visual setup that we could take with us to shows. And that is a band, we only use electronic instruments. I don't play saxophone in that band, literally. And that was a conscious choice at one point. I just didn't want to play saxophone in that band. And we only play electronic music to external people that almost looks like we are DJs, so we just have to play. If we don't really make sure that people know that we are playing live, then it's hard to convey that we are actually playing live. Whatever we do, this is happening live. There was this idea of we want to make this more clear that we are playing live. If we don't play, there's nothing happening here. There was the first connection of showing that black box of electronic music and opening that black box and showing what's inside and making the connection more open. So we worked together with a programmer called Chikashi Miyama, and he programmed a visualization for us. But at one point he said okay, that's cool. With this first setup, we are not gonna get any further. Let's switch over to Unity if you ever find the possibility and the time to do that. which is a gaming engine. It's a programming environment that it can do visuals. And he then worked on the basic tools that I could use to make my own visuals. At the Academy for Theatre and Digitality in Dortmund, I could then spend half a year on only working with these tools and developing these tools further, and actually doing live visuals for my electronic music that I'm doing. Welche Form kann ein Klang haben? Wie kann ein Klang aussehen? Welche Dimensionen kann er haben? Welche Formen kann ein Klang annehmen? Ist er rund? Hat er Ecken? Welche Farben kann ein Klang haben? Hell, dunkel. Wie viele Farben kann ein Klang haben? Und wie bewegt sich ein Klang? Und wie ist es mit Musik? Wie ist es, wenn es mehrere Klänge sind? Was passiert, wenn ihr versucht, euch vorzustellen, wie ein Musikstück aussehen kann? I started working for a theater performance art company called Unlabel. And we are working inclusively, and we're working towards more accessible performances. And the funny thing was that all this stuff came back to me, and eventually I found myself in the situation where I had the time and I had the focus to actually focus on the idea of like, what does it mean to connect audio and visual for a reason other than just putting up a show. To, for example, make a performance with music accessible for somebody who's deaf, when it's actually important that you hear the sound of a performance, but maybe you're deaf. So what do you do then? Like, how do you make that connection?
So your research project in Antwerp is called SOUNDVISION on Stage, but then a few months in, the on stage disappeared because of this corona crisis. What was your take? Because you have been very busy producing a lot of experiments, but what was your approach to all this?
So I'm on a fellowship for the KHM Cologne, and I'm on a fellowship for the Conservatoire in Antwerp. The idea was to actually focus on sound vision on stage, making more stage pieces with it. Last year, we already had the opportunity to show sound vision, like the software and our new music, with Sylvester to an audience, for example, with the Dortmund Philharmonics. Very early on, like before the lockdown started, like we were super lucky that we could do that in Germany. But then Corona hit, like I had to rethink what I was going to do. And I had a lot of time off my hands because a lot of shows got cancelled, a lot of projects got cancelled. And I thought like, okay, what the hell? I will just try to become better at actually visualizing stuff. Let go a little bit of this idea of immediately like focusing on sound visualization, but I focus more on this whole idea of, okay, how can I efficiently make interesting visuals with a computer? And I put my focus more and more on shader coding. I was super lucky that I found a workshop by Aziliat, which is an amazing artist. If you look for him on the internet, he does like crazy simulation stuff with shaders, and in particular with compute shaders, which is a special kind of breed of shaders. It allows you to basically use the whole force of your computer. If you have a computer with a good graphics card, when you're trying to do a visualization live and you still have to fill the whole screen, like that is a technical issue. The computer takes time. The solution is you put it on the graphics card. The problem is the language to work on the graphics card is a little bit confusing, because the other you have a lot, like in the millions, tasks that are running in parallel, so all at once. They have to be very simple, so there's rules again for that. You just have to switch your mind to work on these things. And when the lockdown hit in November last year, I told myself I will learn shader coding first, and then I will learn compute shader coding with this workshop. And this is what I spent my time with, in the mindset of People Crap, which is an Instagram 3D artist. Do something every day and you will become better at whatever you do. And I've been doing this now for 115 days and still counting. Working on visualizations every single day. Sometimes they are more complex and most of the times they are not. Like most of the times they are just like finger practice, but it's still crazy how much I learned like in this period. I think I've never been so productive in my entire life.
You don't get much fun, do you?
Follow the light.
I know what's on your mind, dearie.
Down.
With those daily visualizations, I've been following them, well, daily. There is some sort of an evolution, and with musical adjectives like, for example, fluid, or what does it mean to be fluent? Can you tell a little bit more about that, how you went from one to the other, about that evolution?
It all started off with me letting go of everything. So I was just like, really, okay, I'm just interested in shader coding, and I find the complexity of it appealing. I like the fact that you're always dealing with the whole picture at once, one simple line of code, and it does something to the whole picture. So in the beginning, I was just like totally interested into graphical stuff, drawing circles, drawing patterns, drawing colors, and playing with that a little bit. When I got into the compute shader workshop, like the way that Azilia taught it in the workshop is like with simulations. So you have, for example, the game of life simulation, but you don't run this with a 10 by 10 square or 100 square. You run it with a 10,000 by 10,000 square because it's on the graphics card and you have that power in your computer. And so like the visualizations and the simulations become more complex and they become more appealing. And what I found, like while working on that, I noticed that that is actually super close to my topic again. Because when I have an audience that I want to drag into something, I need to show them something that they find interesting. If it's just like super abstract, that's fine. It can be flashy. It can, like if you have a big giant screen, anything looks cool. But if you really want to trigger their minds, then you somehow have to pick them somewhere. And for me, that was always easy with like simulations. I always get triggered by simulations because it is something like in the computer that shouldn't be there. Like for example, Game of Life, you notice like patterns that like your brain is used to seeing life and noticing life. Like this is in your code basically to realize, oh, there's something going on that is making a pattern, and I realize maybe it's a mouse, maybe it's a bear, maybe I have to run. So this is like what triggers your brain, or my brain at least. And so I got super excited. The actual code for some of these simulations is super short compared to what you get out of it. For example, Game of Life. Then there's reaction diffusion, which looks really, really strange in a way, but you have this emerging chaotic patterns that have like a natural feel to them. Or you got the edge of chaos, which in itself is an amazing concept, and that was all part of the workshop. And then I got into swarming simulations, which is like, to me, is always amazing because you have a lot of entities. Like I had a million 3D entities all working and realizing each other at once. You get into this realm of storytelling by simulation. So the computer starts telling its own stories. You just give it like a little bit of trigger points and then it starts doing its own thing. And I love that so much. Fluid simulations, which is another thing that I find super interesting because it's something that you're still not really used to in the computer. It is computationally or technically it's so heavy. Like now I'm at the point again where I also use this mindset for developing my own audio analyzation tools again.
What is next for you?
Looking forward, the problem that I have right now is basically I'm recording my screen, but this is restricting myself. I would like to focus on how can I make my art now accessible and so that it reacts to you.